Hello, Pro Guides. How's it going? So here we are. We're back. I got Newsham with me. Just to introduce him again for anybody that doesn't know. Maybe you didn't see the Position 5 tier list. And, because who plays that role? It's really boring anyway. We're on to the fun role. But anyway, Newsham, major player, minor player, 8k MMR. What can we say about him? Look him up on Wikipedia. Very good Dota player. But he doesn't know anything about the offlane, so this video is going to be mostly me. So, how is it going, Newsham? What do you think about what I just said?
I don't play offlane.
Oh. Okay.
No, I like the offlane. I just don't play that often. But I have to lane with them all the time, so when people pick bad heroes and grief my game, I'm usually pretty upset, so I have opinions.
See, that's interesting, because I recall queuing with you an awful lot. I never see you queuing solo, so are you referring to specifically me that's griefing you, or what's going on here with this? Is this an intervention?
No.
Oh, all right.
Just in general. Just a general thing. I mean, I watch pubs too. I can see when people are griefing the game.
Okay, that's fair. So, getting into it, we have the S tier. We have Doom, Underlord, Axe, Venomancer. Starting with Doom, my reasoning behind this is basically drums are broken right now. And this guy is like the #1 offlane drums builder. You just run at people with Scorched Earth. Also has this cool Doom duration talent at level 10. If there's some guy on the enemy team you really need to Doom. Did you know that they changed this? Isn't that a cool one?
I did not, but that's pretty cool.
I think it's probably worse than the move speed a lot of the time. But it's cool if there's some guy that you need to Doom, like there's a choice now.
I think nice. What makes Doom cool to me right now is, go to his Q again, he got buffed, right?
Yes, mana,
yeah, so I know we keep saying this in every other video we've talked about, but with the new patch, games are just slowed down. So like this guy is gonna get rich. And not only that, but because the game has slowed down and people are splitting up the map a lot more than they were before, suddenly Doom becomes much more valuable, because now you can find these solo pickoffs with Doom, and plus you have people who are farming a lot. Usually these games are going to rely on, like just Spectre or, these hard carries where single target dooming them is going to win you a fight.
No, I feel you. Like I think you hit the nail on the head with like the Spectre thing, is that often there's like one guy on the enemy team that becomes just unkillable. Like this monster on the enemy team you need to deal with, and Doom literally just picks one guy and it's like, you're dead. You're out of the game.
Especially in pubs. Like, let's be honest, in a lot of pub games, there's usually one guy who's clearly doing much better than everyone else. And if you can just take him out of the game, suddenly you have a free game.
Yep.
So,
absolutely, big Doom fan. Underlord, man, this is probably like S+ tier. This Underlord.
Yeah, he's gotten a crazy boost in win rate. It's kind of one of those things where like you see the buffs and you're not actually sure if it's that good or not. You see it and you're like, it's okay. Right. And then you see the win rate and you're like, okay, maybe he's actually just the best hero in Dota right now.
See, when I first played it, or when I first read the notes, I was like, oh, that's like slight buffs to Underlord, that's cool. But then I played it, and you put a Firestorm down, and it's like most heroes can't get in range to auto-attack you without taking Firestorm damage now. That's the real cool thing. So laning is so easy because of that, because it's like, you want to harass me? #1, I'm going to reduce your damage because of Atrophy Aura, and then you're going to walk into my Firestorm now. And there's so many choke points that you can cover now with the Pit of Malice, especially with the AoE at 15. But even if you don't go the Pit of Malice, I think the Firestorm cooldown's amazing. It gives you nearly 100% uptime on this ability.
I think he's one of those heroes that got some reworks in his talent tree where it just actually makes him feel really good. There was some talents like before in the previous patches when they're first adding talents where like there's very clear winners. Like Furion literally just got free items for some reason, just a ton of damage and armor and all this stuff.
That was cool.
But now heroes like Underlord and stuff are finally getting looked at because clearly they were not doing good for a long time. So
Axe. So maybe a little bit of personal bias in this one. This is like my second or third favorite hero in Dota next to Pudge, but we won't talk about that hero. I think Axe is really strong at laning. He's a hero that can still cut behind the tier 1. A lot of the heroes that could cut behind like the tier 2, they really fell off because you can't cut behind the tier 2 now. So, but Axe would always cut to like the easy camp, and so you can still do that. Culling Blade got buffed, which is great because it's better than pure damage. You now have a 20 talent that's not this useless attacking procs counter helix talent, which means at 15 you take the mana regen, which means at 10 you're probably going to take the move speed. Like, this guy's talents are really good. He's great against a lot of the like illusion heroes and specters and whatnot being picked right now. Slark as well. Even though Slark beats him in lane, Axe beats him in game with the Blade Mail, and then Blade Mail's a nuts item.
Right. I think Axe is one of those heroes where as long as there's something to taunt and make them kill themselves with Blade Mail, he's always going to be strong. And his laning is so annoying. There's not many heroes that change the laning phase the way Axe does. He just kind of turns it into this weird, like, people are running around in chaos. There's creep waves running at you from the neutral camps. No one knows what's going on.
He's the pressure
guy. He is definitely the
pressure
guy we're talking about, right?
Yeah. He's one of the
If you're an
best.
aggressive player,
Love this hero for that. So much fun. Venomancer, he can kind of double us both, honestly. Because
I agree.
You can really pressure people with like high levels in Poison Sting and maybe go 2 levels in Gale, which both do
if
a
you
lot
have
of damage.
a way to lane and actually hit them a lot, he feels a lot like a Viper where he's just slowing you and it's hard to get away from him. Very, I don't know, it's like what's the word for it?
Cancer.
Immersed? I was thinking immersed. It's like you're like this Venom guy. He feels it's very accurate the way he feels. Honestly, him and Viper.
It's like
coming as Venom.
It's a well-themed character. That's true.
Yeah,
100%. Plague wards like this change. 120 HP at level 1 means that your plague wards can't get one hit, which is amazing. Like people, what I always say is that like people held this point. They would literally hold points until you could get 2 levels in this thing before leveling it. If that doesn't mean that an ability is terrible at level 1, I don't know what does. That people will literally would hold 2 points before skilling it because you would just feed wards to people. Not a thing anymore. That's really cool.
Well, it's because, his other 2 spells are usually going to be better in the first 2 levels, right? So it's like by the time you get to Plague Ward, people are around level 3 as well. It's like they're not scared of that ward anymore.
Yeah.
But now they can't just sit there and kill it.
Right. So, okay, that's S tier. A tier, we have Timbersaw, which I actually just moved up literally like a couple hours ago. Slardar, Sand King, Legion Commander, Beastmaster, Pangolier, and Night Stalker. So Timbersaw, the reason I moved this hero up is basically it's like a big pub thing. I really think that this is one of the best pub heroes right now, just because you pick at the same time as the carry, mostly. So basically any carry that people will pick right now, especially because Ursa has fallen off, especially because Monkey King isn't really much of a carry hero, like you're going to have a ridiculously good lane as Timber, 90% of the time right now.
Yeah, and let's be honest, a lot of these games you're going to be playing at Spectre.
Exactly. It's Spectre or Terrorblade, and you just sit there and get hit by them in lane, and just destroy them with pure and magic damage. Actually, it's all pure damage now. It's not magic at all.
I think Timbersaw, the reason why I would put him like A tier, or a lot of the A tier heroes, and not S tier, is it's a little risky picking him. Like, there's definitely, I could see, a Timber going like 0 and 6 and being a detriment to his team. Like, sure, he's making space, but it's not, some guy who's just putting down Underlord stuff or...
Yeah, they could pick like a Bat Rider and then you fall off and just...
Right, because when you think about Timbersaw, he's kind of like a Shadow Fiend in the sense that you want your team to be stunning people, but typically from the offlaner, you want some guy to at least have some sort of initiation or something, which people usually will build duels these days to have some sort of, TB cancel or catch, but it's just a risk,
right? Arguably the best stunning offlaner in the game right here with Burrow Strike, 2.2 second, 11 second cooldown, high damage, high cast range, stun. Love this hero. Caustic Finale just got reworked. So I've seen Kezu playing this, and he goes Burrow Strike max, and then 2 points in Caustic. And so the cool thing about this, and my argument for why Sand King is good and why this Caustic is good, is not because of the damage that it does, because I know that's... Even when I made my patch analysis video, I literally used Sand King in the thumbnail and a nuclear bomb going off behind him, because I was thinking, like, this is a crazy, like, nuke that he has now. But what really sells this to me is that now Sand King has a 15 or 20% slow when he hits you, along with a 30% slow from Epicenter when he epis you. So you're just stuck in his Sandstorm forever. Like, before, you had to wait until the Caustic procced to get the slow. Now you hit them and they're slowed automatically, like Broodmother slow. And that's kind of crazy to me, because Sand King didn't have that before. He would just stun you in Sandstorm, and then you'd walk out at normal move speed.
Sand King to me feels a lot like Mars in a sense. Like the way you're gonna end up getting killed by a Sand King or Mars is like you have like this slowly taking you down while they're right clicking you, and then you're getting stunned and stuff. It's not feeling too good.
It's not.
Plus he pairs really, really well with a lot of the fours.
That's true.
It's like you can't go wrong when you have your offlaner also stunning. Especially the thing that makes Sand King for me one of the better heroes in Dota is he's really easy to play, and having your stun bring you to the target, versus like Centaur, you have to run up to them or you have to blink on them. It's just so nice.
Legion Commander, I think this is another really stable offlaner, really good against illusion heroes with overwhelming odds, really good against Slarks and these like high damage blade mail heroes that just suck against blade mail with duel. Pressy Attack is a great counter initiation tool. It's probably the best purge in the game that comes from an offlaner. Like Abaddon Omni are kind of bad right now, so
I'd definitely put LC in a similar pool of acts. It's like you want to be lane dominating. You're like this blade mail guy that you make them hit you.
yeah, it's
the most appealing part to LC to me is like I don't know, it's like a carry player's offlaner,
Yeah,
you right click a lot instead of casting spells as much, but you still do cast spells and it matters a lot more. But I'd argue that like people started doing this more points in E build with the counterattack.
Yeah,
and it feels really hard to lane against. It feels really bad when they man up on you and hit you back and lifesteal and stuff.
It does. This is like a Snake King hero versus like a maybe Monkeys Forever hero. Like you have these like different styles of offlaners. You have the carries, you have the people who like picking the int heroes, you have the people who like creating chaos, you have the people that like to basically, dominate the game and farm. This is like the farming hero. That carries the game.
You wouldn't see like Brax playing this hero. Brax is going to be the Sand King, the Tide Hunter.
And if he does, he plays it probably with the pipe and a medallion and saves people. He plays like that sort of Legion Commander, I would imagine. Okay, oops, I skipped Beastmaster. I mean, this hero's been good for so long. How can you go wrong with the BKB piercing nuke disable that also pushes other people away, lets you isolate a target? You have the vision from Hawks, especially with the new talent, the 200 Hawk vision. You have Boar, which I thought the mana cost would be a pretty big deal, but it's not, especially because you go Necrobook on this hero still. And Necro has 2 Sage's masks, and that gives you infinite mana basically.
Well, it's not just that.
Hero.
Usually you're going to have your aura in the early game, right? When mana would be a problem, so you only have one spell to cast.
That's
which I suppose you can still cast your Hawks, but do you really need to see that much?
Not in
you're going to see like
not that early.
maybe some trees so your supports can fight each other or whatever, but
yeah.
Right.
Maybe if you could still block camps with Hawk, maybe it would be like, oh, this costs so much.
Yeah, it would feel bad, but now it's just like
you're just using Boar. That's basically all you are. Is you are a right click, an aura, and a Boar.
Now it's literally like, hey, the support isn't here. Or, oh, hey, the carry hasn't been here. Are they jungling? Are they pulling? Like that's about it. And that's gonna be like level 5. You're fine. You don't need the mana.
Yeah. Pangolier, probably S tier if you're really good at it. I mean, it's just
I have a pretty strong opinion of Pango. I think he's kind of the opposite of like Sand King or Slardar, where it's like you don't really need to be an expert at the hero or anything, and you're gonna have good game impact, right?
Yeah.
But on Pangolier, I think you could potentially game ruin by feeding your brains out or bouncing into walls and jumping around. I've seen it before. Like I know BSJ's. I've seen his Pango. It's not good.
BSJ versus Lukey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think in the right hands, Pangolier is definitely S tier.
Definitely.
Almost every game, actually.
Right. Rolling Thunder is just like ridiculous chain disable if you're good at it. And then the hero scales too. Night Stalker, one of my personal favorite heroes, maybe a little bit of personal bias in there, but my big argument for Night Stalker, and I told you before we recorded, I would tell you what my argument is live so that way I could get your natural reaction to it out of curiosity. Yep. So basically my reasoning behind Night Stalker is that, so we already talked about how the at least like the first 5 minutes are kind of slow. You have these like Spectres, Warlocks that are kind of hard to pressure, and I feel like Night Stalker, you don't get pressured by these heroes until level 5, and even if you do get pressured by a safe lane, drums is so cheap that once you get the drums and it becomes nighttime, even if you had a bit of a rough 1 to 5 minutes, you still can pressure them out of lane with the first night because drums are so cheap. That's basically my argument for this, is that the early game items for him are so efficient. Either people go like 2 bracers or they go drums, and they just pressure with that.
I could see it. I think people are starting to steer away from these Banes and Ogres.
Yeah.
And they're trying to be a little bit more greedy on their 5s now because they know the game's going to go later, picking like, Crystal Maidens and Train Protectors.
Yeah.
I could totally see it, where you're going to have more of a laning stage where you're not going to get pushed out, you'll find a bit more farm, and then when you hit nighttime, I could definitely see your argument for it.
That's kind of what I'm thinking with it. And then also just a great hero for killing a lot of for dealing with, I should say, a lot of the supports that people pick right now. You have these like Banes, Jakiros, like heroes that you don't necessarily want to focus your entire effort on killing them, but having one guy that can kind of go in the back and just silence them and zone them out is really good. Something like Oracle, you know? I feel like Night Stalker is one of the best backline jumpers in the game. Okay, so Slardar, my whole argument for him is basically he reduces your armor by a lot now. That's it. Like, it's like 10, 15, 20 is nuts. And then you have a -4 at corrosive at level 20. Dude, we just played Ags, okay? You and I both know how valuable minus armor is. Anybody that plays Ags Labyrinth and tries to rank up on the leaderboard
will know how much like 5 to 10 armor will matter on a unit. Yeah,
it's a big deal. It's the difference.
I mean, they did
between
recently
first and
change
third.
the minus armor calculations, so
They did. I think Knoxville said that minus armor now is more effective, I believe. But then armor, as it scales, there's like a threshold. It's like 1 to 15 armor or something now. You're better off, but then when you're above 15 to like 25 or infinitely, you're a little worse than before.
Right.
Something like that. It was
I
very
believe
close, though.
the whole point is like basically once you get over capped, not a cap, but once you go over an armor, basically it's not that good in reducing the damage, but if you reduce their armor from that point back down to like normal armor, you get much more value out of minus armor in that regard.
Something like that. I don't know. It's really confusing.
Basically, just to talk about Slardar though, I don't know. I think he's a little riskier. He's like a riskier Sand King. He's like the fine balance in between like Legion Commander and then Sand King. It's like you're gonna kind of do better in the lane than a Sand King might, and you're gonna scale a bit more. But you're not exactly a Legion Commander. You know what I mean? You still stun. You still have ways to stop people from going on your team.
But you don't exactly have like the disable and team fight that a Sand King does.
You're a bit more utility, right?
So you're like a mix between utility carry. It's a weird position to be in, but it's good. It's easy. Yeah. Slardar is definitely easy.
He's a nice middle ground. If you're trying to like learn Offlane, I don't think you can go wrong with playing like Sand King and Slardar.
Yeah, definitely. B tier. We have some old faithfuls on here. Darkseer, Mars, Batrider, Brewmaster, Queen of Pain. Not sure how I feel about that one these days. Necrophos, Centaur, and Void Spirit. All right, sell me on Darkseer, because you told me to move this up on the list.
All right, so I've seen Darkseer a good amount, and I've played it myself. In the few games I have not played Aghanim's Labyrinth or whatever. But basically, his laning was always pretty good. Like, I don't think you could really ever argue that it was that bad. And it's kind of like Doom where, the things have slowed down a bit in the lane. So you have like this thing where eventually you're going to hit your level 2 Ion Shell. And if anyone's ever played as or against Darkseer, you'll know that once you start getting levels in Darkseer, or like Ion Shell and Surge, he's a pain to lane against. He's just going to get what he wants. He'll farm really fast. And then also, these group fights are going to break out now. You'll have much less of this like snowballing out the laning stage and then these group fights where you get ran over. Most of them will be fairly even now, and all these aura items and group fight items like mech and stuff, it feels really good. Like, he turns group fights around. Plus the wall it's just been good, but like Darkseer himself hasn't been that good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you played him when they added vector targeting, by the way?
I have. I like the new
So what happened at the start was you would target it, and it would cast it from the left to right for some reason. So like when you would cast wall, you'd have to run further than you'd want to cast it. But then they changed it where now your cursor starts from the center of the wall. So when you cast it, it feels really, really good.
Yeah.
You're basically guaranteed to get like 1 or 2 heroes in it at the very minimum if you're okay at pressing your buttons with vacuum.
Well, you can do cool stuff like set it up ramps as well.
That too. It's way easier to cast now. It's actually a joke compared to before. Also, his new talent, this is definitely the one that sold me. He just got a bunch of new talents and reworks, and they feel amazing, especially the 15 talents. If you're versus anyone who's like a hard carry, the wall illusion actually beats them up. Like, what happened in my game, for example, was I was versus a Chaos Knight, and he was destroying us all game, and then randomly we just killed him with a wall replica, and then we kept doing that, and we won the game.
125%. It's pretty nuts, actually. Now
that it is. It's really nuts. I'm telling you. It actually did. They tried to ignore it, and it actually did more damage to him than they realized. And eventually, I searched it around with an Ion Shell too. So.
Yeah, and the replica damage is only 200%. So, yeah, that's very close to just getting basically another the hero on your team.
Right. So if you have like a bunch of wall illusions, plus you get their auras, right? So people don't really think about that.
Yeah. Mars. Speaking of group fighters. I think what they just changed on him is his Arena of Blood comes up twice as fast, which is pretty cool. People can't get out of it quickly now, so you can just like...
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a... What's the word? Quality of life change too? I don't know if you ever had it where you cast your ult and then everyone's laughing at you because they ran out of it. I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
So now you won't get people laughing at you and make you cry later, so that's good.
Yeah, lots of that night terrors of Mars. Yeah. You know, the music that plays, just very loud. Yeah, no, I'm with you. A spear is a great stun. God's Rebuke. I actually really like leveling this with like an Orb of Venom in the lane and just slow people to crap with this. And
I think the coolest thing about Mars is he just hasn't really changed. He's been good, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually a new combo you can do with the spear. Have you seen it?
No.
If you blink on someone and spear them, if you cast your ult at max range, you can actually spear first and then ult. And it does like almost max damage.
Wow, I had no idea.
It's really strong. It's hard to pull off, but I know Lois pulled it off in a pro game against Gunner. So you guys could go look that up. It was all over Reddit for a sec there.
Dude, that's pretty cool. That makes it like an instant disable, actually.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
You basically don't need to be near a tree or anything. You can just do it off your own.
That actually, I had no idea. That actually sells Mars to me. Because a big issue with Mars is, oh no, they have a Slark, they have a Phantom Lancer, they have a hero I can't blink on out of smoke. How do I kill them? I have to hope that their camera is somewhere else, and that when I blink and pit them, that they don't notice. So I can stun them.
Or sometimes you throw a spear and like... for some reason the map's not programmed very well and they'll fly over a cliff that they shouldn't have, or you know what I mean, like the Roche pit, you can't pin them. I don't know if they fixed that. Stuff like that. So now you have your own way to set up your spear. So that's really nice.
Yeah, that's really great. I had no idea. Okay, Batrider. So this hero, they did nerf the Sticky Napalm. They gave him Agi gain though, which I think is really cool because, you know, as an offlaner, he was always kind of like the squishiest one that people would still pick a lot. And so giving him armor as an offlaner is always going to be great, especially because he builds these HP items like BKB and Octarine sort of thing. So
yeah, naturally offlaners are going to be taking a lot of damage compared to other cores. They're like the guy who runs in and causes chaos, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty cool. And Sticky Napalm, they did nerf the turn rate thing, but to me this like doesn't nerf his farming at all because you still can't walk up to him in lane because he'll just kill you with Sticky Napalm. You know, the turn rate is slowed, but like really,
if anything, I think turn rate is probably one of the most annoying mechanics in Dota to begin with, and I'm surprised it took them what, like 10 years or something ridiculous to finally change this spell.
Yeah.
I think this says a lot. It's a long time coming, and I think it's well deserved.
I think so. And then they changed some stuff about his Ags, but I mean, Batrider's just been... So my argument for Batrider right now is like similar to what we talked about with Timber, is that I feel like it's 50-50. Either you stomp the lane because they pick Spectre or Terrorblade, or they pick Slark and you get destroyed. And then you have to cut waves, and you'll be fine. But you're not going to destroy the lane by any means, and the game might be hard. But you have a chance.
Timber's definitely one of those guys where you have to really know your limits and push your boundaries. And if you're not basically killing people and living with 5% HP, you're probably doing it wrong.
Right, and I feel like Batrider is like that, except to a bit of a lesser degree. But I feel like you have to push limits on Batrider with like creep cutting and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep, the avenues where Timber only has to kill heroes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, definitely. Brewmaster. So this hero has just been buffed a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot better. Maybe it could be an A tier.
Yeah, I still don't really know where he stands, but I think his changes are pretty boring. I think it's just the same hero. It's just his ult's slightly better. They do a bit more damage and things like that, or move a little bit faster. It definitely makes him more viable because everyone's moving faster in general these days compared to when he was really commonly picked.
Yeah.
He definitely needed buffs, so it's a step in the right direction. Who knows? Maybe he'll become better. I don't know.
Still the same problem of just a long cooldown ulti though that you're fighting around.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the time the offlaner will want to be the guy that's like causing pressure constantly, and Brew is just a liability when he doesn't have the ult is the problem. You just like, oh, this guy's no ult, kill him. You know?
Yeah.
But whereas a Batrider,
he's looking really cool at least though.
He does look cool. Yeah, he does look really cool. He just came out of like the diamond mines or something like that. I don't know what he's been doing in there, probably getting drunk. Queen of Pain. So my argument for this hero was that last patch, she is just the most broken hero in Dota, period. Literally the best hero in the game by like a huge margin.
Yeah, I think it was her Nature's Prophet.
Right, exactly. But then with the nerfs, I think as an offlaner with this mana cost nerf, you have to get your like Sage's Masks out quickly as an offlaner to make up for this mana cost problem. As a mid laner, you're getting a bottle, you're getting null talismans, people are filling your bottles. Like, you have no mana issues because everybody just makes the game about you. As an offlaner, it's not the same.
I think the easiest way to sum up both heroes is they were just too strong in every way possible. Their stats, everything. But now they've finally been tuned to actually be just good at a role. You know what I mean? When a hero's played in every role, that's how you know you have a problem. And they finally fixed it. So I think it's good. I'm glad. Quap is a mid laner, let's be honest. She should have been just stuck to mid, but she was just too strong, so step in the right direction.
Right. Not quite there yet, but it's a good...
Right,
good
she's
big
definitely
step.
still really good and has a high win rate, but yeah.
Yeah. Necrophos, I think every patch I'm like unsold and then sold on this hero. And the reason that sold me on this hero right now is that there's basically one carry that people pick right now that's good against Necro in lane, and it's Anti-Mage. And even that, you're like a ranged hero versus AM, and if you have a good pause for, you'll still destroy AM. I feel like a lot of the time you have these matchups where it's like, it's really hard solo Necro versus Anti-Mage, right? But when you include like a Snapfire, some hero that is just decent against AM as a pause for, it's different. Or like a Treant, you know? Like Treant Necro will win any lane. But against most lanes, Necro will win. Like Slark, Spectre, Terrorblade, Necro owns all of these heroes. And these are the, Phantom Lancer, Naga. And most carries in the game, Necro will do really well against in lane. And then you just Reaper Scythe people.
I hate the concept of Reaper Scythe increasing time. It's a very unfun mechanic to be on the other end of, but I actually do love the Necros in the game. I think he creates a very cool dynamic. And I'd argue he's pretty good right now. It varies game to game, that's definitely why he's lower tier, but I think in the right game, he's definitely S tier. Like, he actually can have so much impact that he's basically like a mid laner or a safe laner.
Yeah.
And you can even just build aura items. That's the funny part, is usually his build isn't going to be like, carry items, but he'll be so impactful that he feels like one.
Still does like the highest damage just because of like percentage.
Right, just existing and running around.
Yeah, I'm unkillable, come get me. Like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Relax, man. You're not supposed to be a carry, okay? Centaur, I thought this hero was going to be really bad when I read the Retaliate nerfs. I think you sold it to me as like a position 4 at first, saying to max the other abilities, and I see people do that as offlaners as well, and it seems good, just playing around like Hoof Stomp and Double Edge, basically.
Well, I just think that if you look at a lot of the AoE stuns, they've slowly reduced either turning into just a different spell entirely, like Earth Spirit Q, for example, or they just reduce the duration on the stun. So they kind of did that on this, but it's still one of the highest duration stuns in the game. And now it does a lot of damage too and lower mana cost, so you can press it more often.
Yeah. Yeah, and
so
cooldown reduction.
It just basically changes the dynamic of how you want to look at Centaur, but the other way you would look at Centaur, is like some blinking stunning guy. I think he's much better at that role. I think he's a little bit less of like a lane stomper against right clickers, but I think like snowballing with like a pause 4 like a Lina or something, or like something like that, he's way stronger now, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And that's the thing, is I was so used to winning lanes with Retaliate that I was kind of ignoring the fact that it's like, well, he's still a blink stunning nuking guy with a good ultimate, like...
Right, you can't go wrong. It's like a same thing.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong with these neutral stunning offlaner guys that just take damage.
Right. And speaking of kind of stunning utility offlane guys, I feel like Void Spirit is the type of hero that you have to be really good with it to win a lane and a side lane with it, because you don't have high levels in the nukes. But you can't go wrong with the guy that has a mobility ability that does damage, a stun that does damage and that also gives vision, and then a shield that does damage in an AoE. It's like all damage and utility, and then a damage dealing mobility ability as an ultimate with 2 charges. Like, how can you go wrong with this guy? He can have any amount of farm and still be useful.
Yeah, he does so much burst. Also, do you know that the ult kills couriers?
Yeah, it goes through
Slows them and does damage. Yeah, it's very annoying to deal with.
Right.
As an offlaner, he's just great for causing chaos. He's a little squishy, so he's a little bit of a risky pick, but he's another one of those guys that's, if you pair him with a nice 4 and you know what you're looking for, you don't just have 2 melee guys and you're getting dumpster in lane, but if you actually know what you're looking for in a laner, you have some, I don't know, Shadow Demon or maybe Lina or something.
Yeah.
He feels really strong. He can run over a lane.
He does.
And just like start going out of control, snowballing.
I think if you have a guy that is laning with you, like a Lina, that's owning and is a really strong laning support, Void Spirit's amazing. Because Void Spirit's not the one that's going to win the lane, but if you have another hero that wins the lane, Void Spirit can supplement that really well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, getting to C and D tier. There's an awful lot of them, and that's probably most likely because I'm an offlaner, so I, have experimented with a lot of stuff. This is why it's not. Anyway, doesn't matter. C tier, we have Enigma, Tidehunter, Earthshaker, Earth Spirit, Leshrac, Nature's Prophet, Clockwork, Tree and Protector. D tier, we have Pugna, Winter Wyvern, Puck, Abaddon, Viper, Bristleback, Tusk, Kunkka, Lycan, Death Prophet. I kind of want to just go over the ones that I generally think are better in other roles. Like, I basically don't understand why you would...
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, if you look at the common theme with these heroes, in my opinion, is they just look like they're suited for other roles. Besides, like, Bristleback and Abba, but other than that, every single other hero, I think, is actually okay in other roles. But if you put them in an offlaner position, they just don't fit that good. They're not going to cause as much pressure in lane.
But they're still okay. They're still, like, not bad heroes. Like, Enigma, pause 4, Earthshaker, pause 4, Earth Spirit, pause 4, Leshrac, probably mid, Nature's Prophet 5, Clockwork 4, Treant 5, 4, Pugna mid, maybe 4, Wyvern 5, Puck 4, 5, Abaddon, carry. People are picking that carry these days. Viper, probably mid, Bristleback, that's probably an offlaner, but breaks are really strong, right? Shadowblade or Silver Edge is really strong right now, and that applies a break. Tusk, he's a 4. Kunkka, he's a mid. Lycan, he's a carry. Death Prophet is a mid. Enigma, I would say, is like an offlaner / 4. We already talked about him. He's probably a 4. Tidehunter, I just think Tide is kind of bad. Breaks are really good. Ravage has a really long cooldown, and it's not good enough to justify that, in my opinion. I think that my argument is always like, look at Enigma's Black Hole now. Like 100 pure damage per second. This ability...
Also, he has a lot of like cooldown reduction stuff. Tide, I think he's one of those heroes we were talking about earlier that have like these updated talents that just haven't... I don't know, they don't feel
he's like
that
an old guy. He's like an old boomer hero. Whereas like you have these new heroes, it's like Black Hole now creates 3 black holes and does all this crazy stuff. And it's like, okay. And Tide's just like, I have a big AoE stun, guys. It's like, but it's on a really long cooldown. So I promise, guys, I'll get
it. Does average damage.
Yeah. It's, I mean, below average, do 200 damage at the moment.
I guess that's true.
It's like it's worse than like anchor smashing somebody once. It's rough.
Pretty bad.
If they buff that, I think he'll be pretty good though, because I really like the fact that Anchor Smash now applies your own attack damage. Like that's really cool. It makes it way better.
Yeah, that's cool. I've seen actually the only success Tide has had for the most part in games is when he's like snowballing with Deso and stuff. I actually think when he just is played normally, it usually just looks like, I don't know, it's like he's another support, you know?
Right, agreed. Okay, so now we're going to get to the fecal tier, the dog poo tier, and in that we have Pudge and Omni Knight. So we'll talk about Pudge for a second. Ice Frog, if you're out there and you're watching this video on ProGuides.com or ProGuides YouTube page, doesn't matter where you're watching it, I'm losing it. Please buff this hero. I cannot
He's so fun though.
I cannot take it. That's the problem. Here's the problem. He's gonna get picked if he's bad or good. So you may as well just make it good. Because he's gonna be in your games and he's ruining people's games. I unironically think that there is a 100%, not correlation, but causation between the number of people that are playing Dota and how good Pudge is. There's a causation. I'm not saying correlation. I'm literally saying I could write a PhD dissertation on this and Harvard professors would look over it and agree and say this is science.
That's a lot of Asians and Urshans.
I would, as many as were necessary, okay, to get this hero buffed.
Okay.
I'll do it. And then we have Omni Knight. I think his spells just suck.
Yeah, I guess that's simple. I think they're trying to steer him in like a more supporty role, but honestly, everything they're doing to him is just not either enough or it's just not good. They're trying. It's clear they're trying. So, good job. But no. I don't know. That's the only way to really put it.
Yeah, I play this hero, and I just wish my spells did better things and that the cooldowns were less long. It's like they're way too long to justify or to... The cooldowns are too long for how good the spells are.
Omni Knight reminds me of?
What?
He reminds me of like
a big pile?
Lycan.
Oh.
No, he reminds me of like Lycan or Clinks before they became picked every game, where it's like, okay, we're gonna give you some changes. It's like, okay, that's not enough. It's like, okay, well, now I'm just gonna buff you way too much. Like, I would not be surprised if Omni Knight randomly is the best hero in Dota in like a patch or two.
Sure.
At least to me, that's what I see. When I see heroes that are getting these slight changes where it's like, oh, this hero's just a little different now. It's like, oh, okay, so they're looking at him. So soon he's gonna be broken. So
That's
I don't
true.
know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. They have tried.
But currently, I don't know. Avoid him.
It's like a 40%
until they figure it out.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's all the offlaners, at least that we consider offlaners. Let us know if you agree or disagree with the list, or if you think that there should be a hero in here that's an offlaner that we didn't cover. God knows I've missed something. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you and hope to see you in another video.